Hello and welcome to Called Bang Sports. This is Nathan here with Dale, and we're super excited to get going on um, this Jazz Grizzlies series and to chat a bit more. The series is tied at 1-1. We both think the Jazz are going to pull this one out, but Dale thinks it'll be a bit quicker than me. So let's get chatting about the Grizzlies. But first, I kind of wanted to talk a bit more about Ja Morant's 47 point game and what that means for the Jazz. And should we be concerned? So I was at the game on Wednesday night, and I told Dale that it felt like just a really quiet 47 point game. And I don't know how you felt about when you were like watching the game, what you thought about those 47 points.
Well, it was a little sneaky because obviously the Jazz were up big most of the game, and even when the Grizzlies came back and like brought it within two, I felt like that was kind of quiet. And as it like watching it, rooting for the Jazz, I was never like terribly concerned about even when when they were down by two, and so I knew Ja was playing good. And I knew there were stretches where they kept going to him and he couldn't miss, but it didn't feel like he dominated the game. So I agree with you on that side where it felt like a quiet 47, but at the same time, 47 in the playoffs, in your first series in the playoffs, even if it's a quiet 47, that's really impressive.
No, it is really impressive. And so at the game, really at the end, I looked up and I'm like, wait, Ja put up 47. Like I can see it, but nothing was spectacular. And the loudest points of the game were Valanciunas on Favors in the third quarter, when I think it felt like 3 or 4 times that Valanciunas posted up Favors, and Favors is a good defender, but Valanciunas is a good enough offensive player, and big enough that Favors really had no hope. And so looking at that, where it felt like Valanciunas was just destroyed the Jazz in the post, and then you look up at the end of the game and he had 10 points.
Yeah.
So that's Ja Morant. Part of the reason I felt it was so quiet is because a lot of them were floaters, which is why he's been able to have so much success against the Jazz, because the Jazz are one of the best teams in the league at stopping the rim because Rudy Gobert, no questions. And they also do a really good job of denying the three because Jazz players can get up into the three-point shooters, and if they get by them, they're not concerned about the mid-range shot, and they're not concerned about them attacking the rim. So Memphis being as good as they are at shooting floaters allows Ja Morant to get those points. And I think he's going to continue to have a good series, but I don't know if he's ever going to have that good of a game again the rest of the series.
And he was definitely like tuned in
Yeah.
game two. Because the floaters that he was hitting, some of them were ridiculous and he just couldn't miss. But he's still a young player, and as talented as he is, he's definitely had off games throughout the season. So I'm not going to be shocked if he has an off game or two in the series. If he pulls out and he has 30 plus for the entire series, this is like his coming up party, and he's showing the league that he's legit even in the playoffs.
Yeah. So 47 points is a Memphis Grizzlies franchise record in the playoffs. Do you want to know whose record he broke?
Was it Conley?
Mike Conley. Do you know how many points Conley had? 35. Ja Morant shat that record. Now,
while playing against Conley.
While playing against Conley. Now, Conley went and did something that no Jazzman since John Stockton has, and put up 20 points, 15 assists. So Conley also had, a career. Like, anytime your name is mentioned with John Stockton, unless, of course, it's not winning a title, you're probably in really good company. So, no, Ja had a great night. I mean, he did score 47. To put that in perspective, he did it on 42 minutes. I think you mentioned that Wednesday night, which makes it
a lot of minutes.
It's a lot of minutes. It shows how effective he was able to be over the course of those minutes, but also that, I mean, he averaged 1.09 points per minute compared to Donovan's 1. So Donovan put up a lot less points, but Donovan was pretty much just as efficient as Ja was during that time.
Yeah. But I kind of want to move on to game 3 because I think this game is going to be, and that's tonight. So I'm
Yeah.
excited to see how it turns out. I think there's a lot of interesting factors going into it. Um, I don't know what Memphis's stadium capacity is, but I can only imagine, like, from a Memphis fan's perspective, there you have this team. They've made it to the playoffs, and it's been a long time since they've been a playoff team. And then you beat the best team in the league in the first game of the playoffs. And this is a very gritty team that's like, it's very Memphis City style. And so it's a team that city can get behind easily. And so with them winning a game against the best team in the league, going home, like split 1-1 with a very gritty team and a young star that they can get behind, and then Mike Conley coming back, I don't think there is bad blood between Conley and the Grizzlies, but there might be bad blood now that they're playing in the playoffs. So I think this team is like, whatever capacity is obvious is going to be 100%, and it's going to be 100% with, or 100% of whatever cap they put it at, and it's going to be a loud crowd. So I'm excited to see how that impacts things. Obviously I think the Jazz will win in 5, so I think the Jazz will pull it out. But I think it's going to be a really fun game tonight.
So it looks like Vivint and is it the FedEx Center? I don't know what it is.
FedEx Forum.
The FedEx Forum. It looks like they seat pretty much sixes. They both seat about 18,000. Memphis will be allowing in 3,500 fans. So in comparison, Vivint has been at 70% capacity, which is full and is rocking, to under 20% capacity at FedEx Forum.
Okay. So those fans really need to be loud.
Yeah, no, it's going to be an absolute change of pace when it comes to the fans and where they're at. I do think overall, I think the Jazz are going to split 1-1 here. Memphis has been way too good, and while the Jazz did absolutely go out and shoot lights out, I feel like a lot of what allowed them to do as well as they did on Wednesday night was having the benefit that the Grizzlies had last Sunday of foul trouble, of them losing Dylan Brooks and losing Valanciunas for significant stretches of time. So I'll be really interested to see what happens in this game, because in this game, ideally, we're not going to see foul trouble for either team, from a sake of the game. Of course, I would just love Morant and Valanciunas and Brooks to all foul out in the first 5 minutes.
If that's what it takes to win, we'll do it.
I think that it's going to be hard going to FedEx Forum, but the lack of fans is definitely not going to be on Memphis's side. And really looking at it, where what happened, I still feel like everything on Sunday went wrong for the Jazz. You were game planning on Donovan Mitchell. All of a sudden, the whole team basically gets hit by a bus, and you don't have Donovan Mitchell. You've been planning on him being there for the past 5 weeks. Now he's gone. Then Joe and Jordan can't hit anything. And I mean, if Joe and Jordan just hit one more 3 each, all of a sudden that's the game.
Yeah.
So I feel like last Sunday was a fluke, but Wednesday, the Grizzlies definitely said, even if Sunday was a fluke, we are still in it to win it, and we are still going to grind and pound. So they've definitely got some good, solid potential on this team. I'm excited to see where they go in a few years, and if they weren't playing the Jazz, I'd be cheering for them to make it past into the second round, but definitely want the Jazz to pull this out.
There's a lot of teams in the West where, just as a basketball fan, I really want to see them succeed. The problem is the Jazz are also there, and the Mavs are also there, who I both want to see succeed more than anyone else that I want to see succeed.
Yeah.
So,
well, every series has been so good so far because every lower seed has picked up at least a win. So I think all the series in the West are currently at 2-1. Yeah, they all are. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, we're going to see at least 20 playoff games in the first round in the West, and probably more.
That's awesome, because basketball will probably keep getting better throughout the playoffs, but this first round, there's so much basketball, and I think the only 2 matchups that I don't or no, like most of the East I'm not terribly excited about right
Yeah,
now. Like Knicks Hawks isn't fun, Nets Celtics isn't fun. So the only fun one is like Bucks Heat, I feel
which
like.
was really fun looking forward to it. And I'm like, oh, I think the Bucks will probably win, but it'll be like in 6 or 7. You know,
And
first game super tight, makes it look like that's what's going to happen, and then the Bucks were like, you realize we have Giannis, and go and just blow the Heat out of the water in the
yeah.
next two. Like, I
And
mean,
Giannis played awful in game one, so I don't know what
yeah,
was going on there.
missed 1,000,001 free throws, but I'm intrigued because I didn't think the Bucks had a chance of making it to the finals, and obviously the Heat have been playing really bad. So, like, how good are the Bucks? But the way they've been demolishing them in the first round really makes me wonder how much they've been saving for the playoffs and where their tank is at. If they're at a full tank, this is going to be an exciting, court semis and finals in the East.
In the second round, I'm going to be a Bucks fan. Like I'm going to root so hard for the Bucks to beat the
Yeah.
Nets.
Oh, I would hope for it. I picked the Nets to win that one, but I could see the Bucks possibly doing it with how things are going there.
It's going to be exciting, but moving back to the Jazz though, like I feel like we could get off on a tangent talking about the rest of the playoffs forever because there's a lot going on there. But like, so you said at the beginning we wanted to contrast a little bit game one, game two, and we did that a touch. I'm curious because like they're really polar opposites.
They are.
Game one we couldn't buy a bucket. That was some of the worst basketball. Like it reminded me of a bad Jazz game when like back with the Rubio Jazz where we didn't really have much offense at all.
Yeah.
And so like our defense wasn't terrible, but it's like we just couldn't get shots. And so that's what the Jazz looked like in game one. Game two, Mitchell comes back. We're hitting our threes very efficiently, like just under 50% for the whole team. Mitchell has a great game. So I'm curious, like, do you think that was just the team is energized that Mitchell's back? And should we, or is it because how Mitchell fits into the system that the team is either more confident or they just get better shots from three? So is this something that like it was just like a good energizer, Mitchell's back, so we happen to have a good game? Or is it because Mitchell's back, we should be expecting this level of play moving forward?
I think it's because Mitchell's back, we should be expecting this level of play moving forward. What happens when Mitchell is off the court is the number one defender gets to choose whoever they want to guard. And so Joe Ingles is a very special offensive player. Jordan Clarkson is a very special offensive player. Bojan is a great offensive player. Like they have those things. But all of a sudden when they're saying, okay, Dylan Brooks is one of the best one-on-one defenders in the NBA. And let's put him on Joe Ingles. Let's put him on Bojan. Let's put him on Jordan. It makes everything so much more difficult for the Jazz. So when Donovan's able to go in as the elite offensive talent that he is, and then still put up 25 when being guarded by Brooks, then all of a sudden the game's that much easier on Joe, that much easier on Bojan. So that's what's really hard about having Mitchell out is it all of a sudden is like, okay, now our, above average, good, like role players need to make plays against the best defensive player they have.
That I had not thought about that point. That's a really good because I was thinking more about just the system of having a player like Donovan. You'll naturally get more good 3-point shots with how Donovan Mitchell plays, and plus he's such a he's evolved into such a good shooter that he'll create his own 3-point shots and hit several of those every game. But that's a good point that like now the best defender on the Grizzlies is taking care of someone else who in game one the Jazz didn't even have.
Yeah.
And so now it's going to be easier for everyone else on the team, which that's exciting. I still want I'm still not terribly excited with how Jordan Clarkson has been performing. I'd love to see more efficiency from him, but I guess that's what you have to live with when you have Jordan Clarkson on your team. He's going to take a lot of shots. Some games he'll make a lot, some games he'll miss a lot.
Well, I think that overall, and we've kind of glossed over this, is Jordan Clarkson had such an amazing start to the season over the first 20 or so games. And then the Jazz did so well for the rest of the season that we were all just riding a Jordan Clarkson high from the first like third of the season. And he has been struggling, and he had some good games down the stretch to help. But his efficiency has definitely went down since the stretch in which he won the Sixth Man of the Year award. I really believe that, had Joe Ingles had that start, that Joe would have won. And I think Joe definitely, in my opinion, was the more deserving, other than the fact that he started 30 games because of all of the injuries to Donovan and to Mike. So that kind of removed him from contention in part. But they were both so amazing. But because Jordan started off so hot, like that's how we view Jordan the whole season, as opposed to starting off really cold.
That's a really good point, because the end of season awards are a storyline.
Yeah.
It's not that, okay, let's dig through the stats. What do the stats tell us? It's okay, out of the players who have the best eye tests and good stats, what gives us the best storyline? So
yeah. And I mean, I don't think that's always the case, and storyline would definitely give Ben Simmons the POY this year. And there's no way he's going to get that. He doesn't deserve it, like, at all.
yeah.
But yeah, it was Jordan's award to lose, and he never did anything so terrible as to lose it. So I'm super stoked for him. I hope Joe can get it, one of these next couple of years, since I would love to see Joe get that hardware, especially with all the work he's put into the team and really how special of a season he had. His stats really dipped once he started having to start at point, once he had to start at point guard. But when he's coming off the bench as the Jazz's secondary or tertiary ball handler, like that's just where he excels.
And I love it when he comes off the bench and he's like that first round of reserves coming in. So he's still like, I think he plays so well with the starters, but coming off the bench with a little bit of an energy boost. And so he's still playing with Conley and Mitchell and Gobert. I think he fits really well in with that lineup. And so it's almost like the Jazz have like an alternate starting lineup there, depending on whether they want to focus a little more on defense or a little more on offense. But he's a good defender too, so you don't lose a ton there if you replace Royce O'Neal with him.
He is. When you were bringing in Yang and Ingles, when both Mitchell and Conley were injured, just the length that added to the Jazz was really something special. I don't think we're ever going to see that, unless it's like out of an abundance of necessity. If for whatever reason the Jazz just feel like they need to beat a team down defensively instead of offensively. But I mean, yeah, it is something really crazy to see how special the Jazz have been. And I think that from what we saw last night, seeing how efficient of a game Donovan had, it was in the arena. There was a defensive foul before he took his first 3-pointer of the game, so it didn't count, but it went in. And once that shot went in, it was okay. So he's hitting that. Where's this gonna go? And he had a really special game Wednesday. So if he's not on a minutes restriction in Memphis, I mean, first of all, first time in Memphis this season, I think, because he played 2 games at home and then didn't make the flight out to Memphis due to the burn incident. So, I mean, I wonder how much he's got something to prove. You're at least going to see some signs in the crowd that maybe aren't the nicest things about Donovan bailing on that plane flight. So maybe there will be some creative ones, but
I hope there's a lot of creative ones just because it's entertaining, and Donovan Mitchell's the kind of person who will just get more motivated by that. So
no, I mean, he's going to go out, and if he's playing 33, 35 minutes, maybe he'll play 30, 32, just be on a lower end there, but it's going to be crazy. He's going to, I think, kind of put Ja Morant in his place. I don't know if he'll get 47 this series, but I think Mitchell, at least, he's never going to have a quiet 47. Mitchell never does anything quietly.
Which is what the Jazz need, because I feel like we have a lot of players who do stuff quietly.
Yeah. And that's because everything Mitchell does is at the rim and at the 3-point line. And those are just the exciting places to do things in today's league.
Mm-hmm. Well, real quick before we wrap this up, I know your prediction was Jazz in 6.
Yeah.
And so you said, so do you think the Jazz will win tonight?
Yeah.
Lose the next game and then win out from there? or what are your thoughts?
I'm not sure which one they're going to pick up at the Forum. They're going to pick up one of these two, and then I think they'll come back to Utah, win, be up 3-2, and then go back to FedEx Forum and just, deal with it. Just take care of business. They could win both of them there. Definitely. They're definitely capable of it. Memphis has just been scary good. Even when they lost, they put up the most points an opposing team has on the Jazz in franchise history in the playoffs. So, I mean, if all of a sudden Dillon Brooks and Valanciunas aren't having foul trouble, where is that going to go? What's going to happen? They're a really, really dang good team. Mm-hmm. Like, they are good. And the Jazz are definitely better. And so if the Jazz's defense locks up tonight, I could definitely see them winning it in 5. I just think the Grizzlies have too much fight left to roll over this easily.
Yeah, we're definitely going to see close games, even if the Jazz win out.
Yeah, there are teams like, I don't want to offend anyone. Like if it was the Pelicans, I just don't think they'd have the heart. Like if they got down 3-1 or down 2, like I think I could see the Pelicans giving up, and just other teams like the Kings giving up. But I don't think you're going to see the Grizzlies give up. That's not who Ja Morant is. That's not who Valanciunas is. Dillon Brooks isn't going to let that happen. Neither is the coach. I can't remember his name, but
they have that blue collar style that they don't have the grit and grind, but they have the grit.
They definitely do. So thank you so much to everyone for watching. Please tune in for Dale's live stream after the game tonight. And if you get to go to a Jazz game, please be respectful. We don't want to see anyone else getting banned from the arena for life. So thanks again for tuning in, and go Jazz.